Hey everybody, welcome to Chapter 11 of TrendSpider University. Today we're going to look at some specialty indicators on the platform, starting with the Anchored VWAP, then moving on to the Anchored Volume by Price, showing how you can find these different setups using our scanner, and how you can find different ways to use these through our technical analysis series. So just go on YouTube and type in TrendSpider Technical Analysis Series, and you can really get a deep dive into some of these different specialty indicators and how you can use them rather than just how you can enable them on the platform. So on top of that, we'll go over the raindrop charts. We'll also look at some other unique indicators in the indicator list. So starting with the Anchored VWAP, the Anchored VWAP is the ability to start the volume weighted average price from a particular point in time. As I mentioned, the TrendSpider Technical Analysis Series on YouTube will really touch on different places you can anchor this from. One of those areas being the swing high of a particular trend. So in this case, if we want to add an Anchored VWAP from this candle on January 27th, just right click, create an Anchored VWAP here, and you'll see that this VWAP shows up, and you can see how well the price respects this area. Now, there are areas on the chart that don't exactly respect this perfect line here, which is very precise. A lot of these lines on the chart, moving averages, trend lines, are an exact price, where a lot of the time you'll see price doesn't really respect a level perfectly. So what you can do is you can go and right click on the Anchored VWAP and go to properties, and you can change different things on the Anchored VWAP here, such as the color, such as the stroke. Maybe you want a thicker line. But what you can also do is add what's called bands. So let's say that you want to add a percentage offset band around an Anchored VWAP to capture some of that margin of error. As we saw on this particular example, there were some candles below the Anchored VWAP that didn't get exactly to the Anchored VWAP above. Well, you can add these percentage bands. So you can add different bands here on these different levels. So level 1, 2, 3, 4. These are all automatically defaulted to different Fibonacci levels, but you can always delete these and just add simple bands, such as, let's say, a 2% band to the downside. So maybe we want to capture some of that price action below the band that would still explain a lot of the reversal patterns that we're seeing in IRBT that we have up. Let's say that we want to do a negative 2.5% band below, and maybe we want to change the back opacity, meaning that we want to make it darker, the shaded area darker. We can do that here, and I'll go over an example of that here in a second. You can change the back color. Since the price is respecting this and then dropping, maybe we want to change this red. The anchor box here is just going over if you have the Anchored VWAP from a specific date, or if you change this to the automated anchors, such as the highest volume bar, the highest high, the highest low, it will show here, that particular anchor instead of the date. So if you don't want that to show at all, just unclick that, and then you can change the line stroke for the Anchored VWAP. And then the other bands that we're going to add, you can change the stroke there, making them thicker or thinner. So in this case, let's make them all red. So we only have one level here. We're only looking at a 2.5% band to the downside. Maybe we also want to add a 2.5% band to the upside and make both of these levels thick strokes. And maybe we want to make these lines lighter. Maybe we want to make level 1 a lighter red. Maybe we want to make level 2 this kind of peach color, and then click apply, and you'll see here that you can easily go, you have to make 0 on level 3 and level 4. Click apply, and you'll see now we have these nice bands here rather than just one exact Anchored VWAP. So this allows you to capture some of that margin of error. Notice here that we tested this upper band almost perfectly, and then below the original band, we did get to capture some of this margin of error that didn't test the middle band here, which is the original Anchored VWAP. So if you go back to properties, and let's say that we want to make this area highlighted red in between these different levels, just change this back opacity, click apply, and you'll see now it becomes a shaded area. So this is something that's really nice and very visually easy to see, and see how price is respecting these areas. And if you do want to add other types of bands, you can easily just click this drop down menu under bands, and you can choose to have no bands at all, which is just going to show the original Anchored VWAP. If you want to have the VBP ribbon, this allows you to see an Anchored VWAP and you can see different areas at which the VWAP is thicker. So notice here towards the bottom, you can see that this area gets thicker. And so you're able to see that in this case, there's more volume here. So this is the ability to mix the VWAP with the volume by price. Let's say that we anchor another VWAP maybe from the swing low here. You'll see here that if we do add another volume by price ribbon here, VBP is what that stands for, and click apply, you'll see how this ribbon is thicker and thinner as well. So this thickness is really just highlighting different volume areas here. So the thicker the area, the more volume that's holding here, and possibly price respecting this area more just because there is more volume here. This was also created by Brian Shannon, so he is definitely the master of the anchored VWAP and this ribbon that he's created to use with the VWAP here. So that is something that's really great to use, as well as these standard deviation bands. So the standard deviation bands are similar to the Bollinger Bands. So it's essentially having a Bollinger Band around the anchored VWAP. So if you do a 2 and a -2, make these 0, click apply, you'll see that these bands, we're looking 2 standard deviations outside this anchored VWAP. So very similar to how the Bollinger Bands work, except instead of the SMA 20 with a typical Bollinger Band, your kind of basis line here is your VWAP rather than your simple moving average from the whatever 20 period length you're looking at. If you're on the daily, you're looking at 20 days. If you're on the weeks, you're looking at 20 weeks. Here, you're just looking at the VWAP with these bands, 2 standard deviations around this VWAP. So going to properties here again, all the things that you want to change on the anchored VWAP, such as the anchor point, you can do that from the indicator list by simply right-clicking and going to properties. So let's say that you want to anchor the VWAP from maybe the year to date, meaning that you want to start the volume weighted average price from the start of the year. You just go to that automated anchor here, and you can do that here. Let's go back to no bands, click apply, and you'll see that now we're looking at the volume weighted average price from the year to date, which pretty much means what is the average price per share paid since the start of the year. And by looking at the chart, you can see that the average price per share paid is at a loss right now. The average price is around $119 or $120, and we're trading at $109. So we know that the average participant is holding at a loss right now for IRBT. Now, if you go to the expand indicator list, once again, if you click these 3 dots, you can easily change that here. So if you want to anchor this maybe month to date, or anchor this week to date, or anchor it from the most recent gap, you can do all of that here, and you'll see how the anchored VWAP changes. And as you move charts, this will also change as well. So this is something that's really nice because you can just switch charts and it will automatically anchor this for you without having to go and manually do that. So really just adding to the efficiency side of things here on the platform. And that's really the main thing that we aim to do on TrendSpider, is change the perspective of how you look at charts, as well as make that whole process more efficient. Now, the next thing on the volume side of things that you can add here is the anchored volume by price. Now, the volume by price is something you go into the indicator list, just type in volume by price, and it will pop up. And then once you click it, it will pop up here. Just scroll all the way down, and whatever newest indicator you've added, it will show up here at the bottom. So let's just click apply, and you'll see that this is the volume by price. Now, a lot of people are probably familiar with volume by time, and that's essentially just when the volume bars are at the bottom of the screen, and we're measuring volume as a function of time. So each day, we're measuring how much volume occurred for that particular candle. With the volume by price, we're measuring volume as a function of price ranges and where and how much volume has occurred at a specific level over a specific time. So what really makes this unique on TrendSpider and really easy to use is the ability to move this around and say, okay, I want to start from this swing high here. Very similar to what we just did on the anchored VWAP. And you'll see here that as we move this vertical line around, and all you need to do is just put your mouse right over where it says VBP start, and you'll see this arrow, these 2 little arrows here. That allows you to move this back and forth to the right and to the left. So let's say that I want to know, since the swing high, where are a majority of shares holding? You'll see that a majority of shares are holding from around 119 all the way up to 125, 126. And you'll see there's a few lines here. This pink line is the point of control. The point of control is just the biggest volume node here. So that means the volume bar that's sticking out all the way to the left. You'll see that these different values here are telling us how many shares are holding at each volume, at each price level, and really these different volume bars are measuring volume at different price levels. So the bottom of this bar, if we highlight this with this red line, we're measuring from about 118 to around 122. So each one of these volume bars, instead of measuring, let's say, a day, it's measuring a price range for the specific time frame you're looking at. In this case, we're looking back since January 27th. So if you right click, go to properties, you can change the number of columns here. So maybe you want the data to be more granular. Maybe you want to see more volume, different price ranges here. You can move this all the way up to 50 columns, and you can add, let's say, or remove the values. Maybe you don't want to know the values of each column here. Just unclick values, click apply, and you'll see that now we're just looking at these volume bars, and there's no actual values there. Now, if you want to get rid of the point of control, this pink line, just right click, go to properties, and you also have the ability to go to the point of control stroke and make it thicker or thinner. So maybe you want to see this in a little more light. Just right click, go to properties. Now, if you want to see the VWAP, the volume weighted average price from the swing high, you'll also see that here, which is this gray line. You can't really see it that well, so you can always make that thicker. You can change the color here. Maybe you want to make it green above, and you'll see that both of these lines are now on the chart, and you can easily go in and remove both of those as well. I personally like to keep them off the chart just because I'm looking more at where these volume bars are located rather than what the point of control is. It's pretty easy to tell what the point of control is by just looking at which volume bar is sticking out, but some people like that visual aspect of seeing that with the volume bars. So the anchored volume by price is also something that you can auto anchor. So maybe you want to anchor the volume by price from maybe the year to date, very similar to what we just did with the anchored VWAP. You'll see here that this vertical line now starts at the beginning of 2021, and you'll see how this changes. Now, if we go back and change this again, maybe to, let's say, the quarter to date, click apply, and you'll see now we're starting at the beginning of the quarter, and you can see where all of these shares have been transacted and are holding since the start of quarter two. So something that you can really use a lot, not only visually, but also in the scanner, in other parts of the platform, not just looking at this from a visual perspective, as well as the anchored VWAP. So if you do go to the market scanner, you will be able to go in and scan for these different setups that we already have predefined in the scanner. So if you want to look for what I like to call volume shelves, a volume shelf is essentially a large area that price is trading around. So for example here, one example I'll go over is AMD. AMD is an example here. If we anchor the volume by price, let's say from the swing high here, you'll notice something really interesting. You'll notice how the price likes to respect these areas on the chart. These volume shelves is what I like to call it, which sometimes include the point of control, sometimes they don't, but you'll see how well price respects this area. And anytime the price is below one of these volume shelves, it's going to act as supply. Anytime the price is above one of these volume shelves, it's initially going to act as a price, an area where price can bounce. And as I mentioned, you can check out the technical analysis series, which goes into a deep dive into how you can really look at this information and look at these areas as supply and demand zones. So make sure to check out the TrendSpider technical analysis series. We have videos on the VWAP and the volume by price. Now go to the search for scanners bar here, and you can look at any VWAP scanner that we have, or any volume by price scanner that we have. One that I've created is Jake's volume shelf scan, and this is something that comes with everybody's account. So this is part of your scanner. So you can just type in Jake, and Jake's volume shelf is going to pop up. Now I do have a couple other ones here that I've created on my own, so not all of these are going to pop up in your scanner library, but definitely Jake's volume shelf scan will. If you go to VWAP, you'll see there's a lot of different VWAP pinch scanners that we've created. The VWAP pinch is something that essentially is coined by Brian. It's coined by Brian Shannon, and the ability to just see what the VWAP is from the top, and let's say a swing high and then a swing low, and you'll see a lot of the time price will sometimes trade within this area. So this is a very loose kind of anchored VWAP pinch. You can see that the price hasn't respected it perfectly, but anytime that you have a swing high and a swing low, that creates a pinch, and we do have the ability to search for these types of VWAP setups, and these are already predefined. These are something that have been created both by some of our team members at TrendSpider, as well as some of our partners, such as Ben, aka Pattern Profits, on Twitter. So if you do want to try that out, you can easily go in and search for this by just typing in VWAP. And you can always do your own thing. If you want to go to add parameter, condition, daily, indicator, and you can go to VWAP. You can see here, maybe you want to say the daily VWAP is greater than the indicator, and maybe you want to look at the SMA 20. You can search for all of these types of things. You could search for the daily price is above the VWAP. You would just have to start with condition, daily, price, close is greater than the indicator, and you'd go to the daily, and you go all the way down to the anchored VWAP here. And you can change this up too. So you can say, I want the daily price close to be above the VWAP from the highest high over the last 50 candles or over the last 10 candles. So the window is just how far back you're looking at. And so you're taking that candle from the highest candle over the last 10 candles, which is the window, and then that's what you're looking back on. So you can really make this very unique to whatever style or whatever view that you're trying to see on the VWAP or the volume by price. You can do the same thing with the volume by price. So just go to condition, daily, indicator, volume, and then you'd see here volume by price. If you want to change this to, let's say, anchoring from the highest high or anchoring from the year to date, you can do all of that within the platform. So a lot of different things that you can do with the scanner utilizing both of these volume tools. Now, the next thing that we'll go over is the raindrop chart. Now, this is something that is very proprietary to our platform. The raindrop chart is a volume weighted chart. So you have two layers to the raindrop chart. You have the volume weighted average price on the left bar here for the first half of whatever time frame you're looking at, and then the volume weighted average price on the right side, which is this right bar for the second half of the time frame that you're looking at. So if you're familiar with a price bar, this is essentially a price bar, except the open on the left and the close on the right. You're looking at the volume weighted average price on the left for the first half of the, let's say this is a daily candle, the VWAP for the first half of the day, and then this right bar is the VWAP for the second half of the day. Now, what's overlaid on top is the volume profile. So you can see on the left here, we've got this little hump of volume. That's showing where volume was taking place during the first half of the day. So since most of that volume, this volume profile is focused at the bottom of the candle, it's not shocking that we have the volume weighted average price right in the middle of that, because that's where a majority of the volume took place. Now here you can see that during the second half of the day, we have most of that volume near the high of the day, which actually created new highs of the day. And how do we know that? Well, we know that because it's flat on the left-hand side. So the fact that we have a volume profile, this squiggly line here on the right, and we don't have that on the left, we know that this volume only took place at this price during the second half of the day. And so this really allows you to see where volume is coming in at different parts of the day and at different prices. So the first layer is just the ability to see this left bar and the right bar, VWAP for the first and the second half. Now this little dash in the middle is just your volume weighted average price for the entire candlestick time frame you're looking at. And then the second layer is that volume profile overlaid on top of the candle's range. So you don't have to go into a 2-minute or a 5-minute candle. You can go into the daily raindrop and see where all of that volume came in for the entire day at different price levels. Now, there are 3 different types of raindrop colors. You have the bullish raindrop, which is just when the VWAP for the the second half of the candle is higher than the first half. The neutral raindrop, you can call this blue, you can call it purple, is the volume weighted average price being equal to the volume weighted average price for the second half of the day. So pretty much a volume weighted doji with the first and the second half VWAP equaling each other. And then the bearish raindrop is just when your VWAP for the second half of the candle is lower than the first half. And this would be no different than your close with this right bar lower than your open, which is the left bar. So there's really 3 ways to use raindrops: looking at volume flow within candlestick wicks, viewing volume flow around resistance and support zones. And as I mentioned, we do have the technical analysis series, which goes over this. We have a ton of different videos on how you can utilize raindrops and going over all 3 of these examples. And then the third one is looking for discrepancies between a candle color and a raindrop color. Let's say that you're looking at a red raindrop, but you have a green candle. I personally look at the raindrop color more than the candle color. Just like if you had a red candle and a green raindrop, to me that's telling us that maybe this red candle isn't justified. Maybe actually volume is telling us a different story, with the volume weighted average price for the second half of the day higher than the first, showing that there are some buyers in control. So these are some of the 3 main ways to use raindrop charts. And if you do want to add raindrop charts to your chart, you simply go to the top right here, change the chart style. I'm just going to turn off the volume by price here real quick. So go to the top left, right under your search bar, go to the chart type, go down to raindrop, and you'll see that these will now change to raindrop charts. Now, maybe you want to compare a raindrop chart to a regular candle. You can always go to the indicator list and just type in price compare. And once you click that, you'll be able to price compare 2 different charts, whether that's the same chart, AMD raindrop versus the candle, or if you want to look at AMD versus, let's say, NVIDIA or something else, you're able to go in to this bottom chart, click these 3 dots, change this chart type to raindrop, and the current means that we're just looking at the actual symbol above. Now, if you wanted to change this to something else, you would type in NVIDIA here or something like that, and you'd be able to compare the NVIDIA raindrop chart with the AMD raindrop chart, and you'll see that you won't be able to do let's do hollow candle and do NVIDIA. You've reached a maximum of 2 symbols on your chart. You can't add more. So cut here. I'm going to, please edit that out. I'm not going to redo this video. So once you have the price compare below, you'll see that you can click these 3 dots here, and you'll be able to compare, let's say, the current candle versus the raindrop at the top chart. Click apply, and you'll see that now you're looking at the raindrop versus the candle here. So you're able to go in, you can make this bigger or smaller. You can adjust it by simply putting your mouse over this horizontal line. And you'll see here that now you're comparing the raindrop to a regular candle, and you can start looking for discrepancies here. So maybe you're looking at the blue raindrop and you want to see what color that blue raindrop is on the candle. You can just use the vertical line here, and you'll see that now it's showing exactly where those 2 are. And this is something that you can also compare to, let's say, a different ticker. So if you want to compare AMD to a different ticker, just go to price compare, and then you can compare, let's say, NVIDIA, and then click apply, and you'll be able to change that and see NVIDIA at the bottom. Now, moving on, if you do have any alerts that you've created on a raindrop chart or anything like that, you can always go to multi-factor alerts and load that from your template. But if you haven't created any raindrop chart alerts yet, let's say that you want to create an alert for a blue raindrop, click condition, daily, candlestick pattern, and just type in blue, and the blue raindrop doji is automatically going to pop up, and you can just click create alert. Now, maybe you want to back test this. You can always click test this strategy, and it will automatically take you to the strategy tester. You can test the blue raindrop as an entry condition and choose your exit conditions as we talked about in the back testing video. Or if you want to scan a blue raindrop or a balloon raindrop, we have different types of raindrop chart setups. So one of these is what we like to call a balloon. A balloon is essentially where you have this raindrop where you have a lot of volume at the top of the range, kind of showing this balloon setup here. We like to look for balloon breakouts. So anytime you have, let's say, resistance right here, and you finally break out, you can see that a majority of that volume is at the top of the range, and you can actually scan for these types of raindrop setups. We just call them a balloon. So go to the market scanner. You can just type in balloon raindrop. You can scan through, let's say, the S&P 500. And then you can change the chart type here. So change this to raindrop, because remember, if we want to scan for a balloon raindrop, we can't be scanning through the regular generic open, high, low, close candle. So make sure to click raindrop. And then if you want to scan for a balloon raindrop that's forming maybe into the end of the day for a potential continuation into tomorrow, make sure to use the current candle. And then you simply just go to condition, daily, candlestick pattern, and just type in raindrop, and you'll see all of these different raindrop setups and patterns that you can scan for. In this case, we want to scan for a balloon, so raindrop-balloon is what you'll pick. Click current candle, click scan, and any raindrops that pop up on the balloon setup will pop up. The day that I'm doing this video is not necessarily the most bullish day for the market, so I'm not sure if we'll find any raindrops. And you can see that sometimes with especially going through 500 stocks, it will take a couple seconds. But there actually are some balloon raindrops setting up here on EQIX, ALK, AMAT. You can see this really nice balloon raindrop forming here. I personally like to look for these balloon raindrops during a breakout. So for example, it needs to be breaking out of a resistance zone. So for example, here, this is a clear breakout where we're breaking out of this horizontal resistance that we've seen over the last couple weeks. We've got that really strong balloon breakout with volume backing the breakout here. So as I mentioned, you can scan for any of those different raindrop patterns by simply just typing in raindrop, and you'll see that all of them pop up, and you can choose from any of these to scan through or back test. You can use the same type of drop-down menu on the back tester or the alert system. This as we've talked about in previous videos, this conditional criteria is valid across all of these different tools that we have: the scanner, the multi-factor alerts, the back tester, all of those different things. So moving on to some of the unique indicators we have on the platform, we have a ton of unique indicators that you can find in the indicators tab. A couple of the ones that I will touch on are the gap snake. So if you type in gap snake, this is something that allows you to see automated gap detection on a chart. So let's go to the regular candles here, and let's go to maybe IRBT again. And you'll see that any gap that pops up on the chart will be shown here. So for IRBT, we have a gap here way below. And, anything's possible in the market. Could this gap fill all the way down in the 60s? We're at 108 right now. Possibly. A lot of people use gaps as a target above or below for their trades. In this case, you can easily create an alert at a gap. And not only that, but you can see this visually. A lot of the time, people are going through different gaps and having to find these gaps manually, where the gap snake will automatically show these different gaps. Now, if you go to properties, the gap factor is going to be looking at the average true range of the gap size you're looking at. I like to use mine 0.1 because then you're looking for the smallest gaps that we can possibly search for. And you'll see some of these other gaps will pop up at that point. So in this case, you'll see that we do have a gap above that we could also fill if the price reversed up here. But if you did, see some of these gaps below, there are also a lot of gaps below that we haven't filled yet. So let's say that we think that the price is going to maybe reverse here into the week ahead, you can always create an alert at the gap above, so you're able to go in and actually create an alert for whenever the price touches or breaks through this gap. If you use the breakthrough trigger here, that means that whenever the price starts to break through this lower line, you know we're starting to fill the gap. Or if you want to create an alert at the top of the gap, you can create an alert at the top of the gap here, and once that alert has gone off for a breakthrough, you know that the gap has fully filled. So this is a way that you can really just make this whole process of finding gaps and then being alerted when gaps fill a lot more efficient. And this is just another unique tool on the platform that we are really one of the only platforms out there that have this capability to find these different gaps without having to manually search for them. The next one is the TD sequential indicator. So if you are interested in the TD sequential count, you can see that by just clicking TD, the sequential count pops up, and then you can apply, and you'll see here that these TD sequential numbers automatically pop up on the chart, and you can use these in the scanner. You can use them in the alerts. So make sure to definitely check out this indicator as well. Another one that's really interesting that a lot of people like to use is the Strat. So this is created by Rob Smith, and this is similar to the TD sequential count, except it's his own letter or his own numbers. He uses 1, 2, and 3. So if you go to the indicator list, you just click Strat here. We'll unclick the TD sequential count, and you'll see that these are all the different numbers in which also include these letters. So 2U means 2 up, 2 down means 2 down. If you're interested in more about the Strat, you can go to our YouTube channel and just type in the Strat. We've done a lot of different webinars with Rob Smith. So if you just type in TrendSpider, the Strat, all of our videos that we've done with him will pop up. And you can also create alerts, and you can also scan for these types of things. One thing Rob Smith likes to use on the Strat is the current candle scan. So the current candle scan allows you to search for these setups while they are still in force. And that's something that he talks about a lot, is finding these setups while they're still in force. So if you do want to learn more about that, make sure to check out his webinar on these setups. Now, the last one that I'll talk about here is the Ultimate RSI. This is another thing that we have on the platform. Just type in U and just L, and Ultimate RSI will pop up. This is by Brad Kruger. Click Apply, and you'll see that you can use this indicator as well. This is a really interesting take on the regular RSI, adding his touch to it. And there is more information in our blog if you want to check out more info on this particular indicator. So hopefully this video was helpful understanding some of the specialty indicators we have on the platform, including the Anchored VWAP, volume by price, how you can use these in the scanner, the back tester, and the multi-factor alerts. Hopefully this video was also helpful on understanding how you can use the raindrop charts and how you can switch to the raindrop chart by simply going to the top left here and clicking raindrop, and these will switch over to raindrops, as well as some of the other unique indicators we have, such as the automated gap detection that we call the gap snake. This is something that comes in handy a lot of the time when you are looking for possible upside or downside targets. So let's move on to the next chapter, and hopefully this video was helpful on all of these different indicators that we have on the platform.